and we'll go live in 3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Just Winging It. This is Will and Cody Show. I've actually lost count of how many we've done of these, but today we are kind of just winging it. We're just going to chat, kind of see how the conversation goes. Not that we didn't prepare anything, just that we didn't prepare anything. But we're preparing for other things that's coming up in the future. But we were like, we should probably record. I haven't put an episode in a little while, and then we're like, here we are. So.
And we wanted to try one to sometimes we'll have an outline of what we want to talk about. And today we really don't have that. So we're just going to kind of talk and see where the conversation goes. I have we have a few things we may want to bring up just as the way of Cody and I really haven't caught up in the past few weeks. So we may do some of that, but yeah, kind of just more, winging it.
Winging it. Episode 1 of Catching Up. Yeah. There we go. I do want to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
This is complete spoiler alert. So if anybody has not seen the Book of Boba Fett, which if you didn't know, Will and I are huge Star Wars fans. So I'm going to ask William, did you see it all? And if you did, what was your thoughts?
I did see it all. I thought it was pretty good. Mixed emotions about the Book of Boba Fett in some episodes. Barely having Boba Fett. It's he's the central kind of character. Like everything is kind of somewhat about him, but there's a few episodes where where's my man at? Like, is he in this thing? So I think the pacing, they could have done a little bit better on the show and building it out a little bit more. But I thought they had a lot of cool elements, and I thought the finale was pretty cool. I hope Cad Bane is still around. I think he's a really cool character, but also at that time he's really old, so that would be fine to be he's super old at that point. He was old in Clone Wars, so it's he's already now it's been a really long time since then, so he's an old man. But I thought it was good. I thought the show was pretty good. Had a lot of cool elements. I don't know how much I think the difficulty is that Boba Fett in his character essence is so close to the Mandalorian. He's a bounty hunter. That's what he does. So they tried to make it something different, but I don't know if it quite fit. I guess that would be the only criticism I might have for it. But I thought the show was cool. They had a ton of cool elements in it. The episode 5 and 6 were just awesome. And those were the ones that didn't have him in it a ton, but I thought they were great episodes, just standalone, great Star Wars episodes. So anyway, that's my thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, I'll be honest with you. At first, I was kind of bored, and I thought I was going to love it because I love Boba Fett, but it just wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't, I guess, what I expected, and it felt like it was a little boring. And then, man, episode 5 came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Boba Fett's not even in it, but
not even
it
in
was
it at
one
all.
of it was some great Star Wars. And then episode 6 throws us for a loop, and Boba Fett gets a cameo.
Yeah, he's in one scene in that.
But then in the last episode, he finally has the last, I guess, oorah, and definitely kicks some Cad Bane butt.
Yes, he does.
Which is kind of sad because I'm like you. I like Cad Bane, but then again, he's old,
super old,
and is a bad guy and probably should die. So,
but you look at all he's done, and he could defeat Jedi pretty easily and kind of best them. So seeing him go down, it's oh man, he wouldn't. But then it's okay, he's super old, so that makes sense. He's kind of on his last leg. And but, I thought the show was good.
I had a meme. I'm gonna see if I can show it, but it's it says Star Wars sci-fi with laser swords and hover bikes, and then Cad Bane, I'm a cowboy. And I'll send this to you, but it's it's just a Lego. I don't know if you've seen the Lego movie where it's I'm a cowboy, and I'll pop it up here. I don't know if anybody can see that.
I'm a cowboy.
Because Cad Bane is basically just Clint Eastwood, just blue.
Well, then you also have Cobb Vanth too. You've got Cobb Vanth who's a sheriff.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about him.
It's very, it does have a really good Western feel, which that's Star Wars has a little bit of a Western feel to it. So, yeah, I did like those elements as well. I thought they played that up really well. Some modern stuff. And then, kind of that core rooted, like that last, some of those last shootouts. I'm like, this is right out of a Western movie. I thought that was kind of cool. So it definitely had the same feeling. But yeah, so I thought it was good.
Did you see the end credits for the last episode?
Yes, I did.
Cool. So
good.
Not gonna lie, I was hoping that was Cad Bane.
I did too. I joked with my wife. I was like, "Oh, I hope it's Cad Bane," and it's like it's Cobb Vanth. I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess he's cool. Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
It's like
he's a cool character." So I was hoping
that's fine.
Yeah, I was hoping that character wasn't gone too. I mean, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
So anyway, so enough about Star Wars. We could talk about that all the time. But I did have a story I did want to tell of like what's been going on like the past few weeks of kind of, I guess it's really been why we've been inconsistent the past few weeks. And it's been what I've been having to like just to deal with. But my wife and I I always feel like I have to preface it. We're doing okay, but we were in a car accident.
Yeah.
It's like, you always have to like, it's like, I always have to preface it to make sure nobody freaks out. But, I have told Cody a little bit of this story, but I haven't gone in depth on purpose because I wanted to share it on the podcast. So it was I can't even remember what day was it. Was that the 23rd of January?
It was like 3 Sundays ago, right?
Yeah, it was the 23rd. It was a Sunday night, and we were driving home. It was about 8:00, so not super late. So we're driving home. We're off. We're just basically like a mile or two from our house. So for those in Phoenix that know, we were basically at the corner of Southern and Price. For you, Cody, that means nothing, but everyone else, you know where I'm at. And so we were getting ready to turn left onto Price. And so I'm in the left turn lane. And there was a little bit of room. So like in Phoenix, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you have these in Georgia, where you've got like the 2 left turn lanes, to go. So, I'm in one of those. And it's red. So I'm waiting to turn left. And my wife and I are just kind of talking while we're sitting there. And then I hear just some tires start to screech or brakes, that like classic sound of somebody probably doing a burnout or a donut or something like that. Yeah. It's that sound. And then I look over and I just see headlights that are coming this way. And so it was like, it went by so fast. And it was just like, everything just in the blink of an eye, it happens. Cause like, I remember looking left, I see headlights and they're coming. So there's a median. It's not just like, some areas where you've got just the yellow line, but it was like, there's a full median with plants and stuff like growing in it. And, it's a pretty good distance wide, and this car is coming over, like jumping over that median pretty quick. So I like look over to my right because make sure the wife's okay. As she's coming, and then by the, I look to the left again, and the car is like already behind me, and basically it clips it hits the back left panel right behind the driver's side left, back tire. So it hits into us. And then of course I'm thinking, okay, is everybody okay? Is my wife okay? And as I like turn to look at the other car to see if I see them jump the median again and take off.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm freaking out because I'm great. Went from, wow, this person just jumped a median, hit us, to now, okay, they took off now. What do I do? Like, there's cameras. So I'm thinking like, okay, maybe a camera caught it. I can figure it out. But there was like, pieces of our car and their car, like all over the road. A few people stopped to help and made sure that we were okay. So that did help out, a lot, and like make sure no other cars were like, going to run into us or anything, because we were kind of stuck there. And so, ended up contacting the police, getting them to come down and, close off the scene as well as look into it. So the lucky part is that we did get pretty lucky was the police were able to catch the other person.
Mhm.
which was really nice because they actually, I guess they bumped into a few other people after they sped off.
Right.
So it's pretty much like a rampage this person is going on. So they hit us. Their car was like, like there was bits of it everywhere. Like they left their bumper by us, but they were still taking off. And then, but they ran into a few other people, but then the police, ended up catching them. And they just said, the police just told us that they were impaired. So there could be a number of things, that could impair your driving. So, we don't know if drunk or drugs or any other things, but
Right.
definitely impaired. And so, yeah, that's been like a big headache. My wife and I are doing okay for the most part. We were lucky. We didn't have to go, to the hospital or anything. But definitely a lot of pain. And so we're dealing with that now and trying to get some treatment for that. Seeing doctors and chiropractors and all that kind of stuff, getting that sorted out. So that was that 23rd. And then it's our only car, that car. So then I got to figure out how am I getting my wife to work the next day on Monday. And so we had to get that sorted out. And then funny story, I don't know if I've told you this yet, Cody, but like on Monday, I work it out to borrow somebody's car because I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can get a rental yet. So let me just borrow somebody's car that somebody had, the car that they weren't, really needing right then. So I get that on like Monday around like lunchtime. I finally get it. And so then I need to go pick up my wife because my wife just got a ride to work and I need to go pick her up. So on the way to pick up my wife from work on that Monday, I get a flat tire on the car I'm borrowing.
Oh my goodness.
It was the most insane thing. I went from
Oh my word.
like I was driving a car Sunday night, got in an accident. The next time I drive a car, I'm borrowing it the next day, a car from somebody, and it get a flat tire. And so then I have to like figure that out a little, it takes me a while, like I gotta, get the spare on. And then I got to take it to a shop, and then get them a new tire and all that. And so it was just like one of the most crazy things where it's like everything just kept going wrong.
Man.
And it was to the point where you could just laugh. Like all you can do is
Right.
laugh. Like it's just like, okay, well, what's this next thing that we're going to have to figure out? So anyway, so the past few weeks we've really been dealing with insurance, getting that sorted out. Obviously the other person's at fault. 100%.
Right.
So that's nice. We don't have to like fight and say, or somebody could say like, well, you were doing this, like we're stopped at a red light. Like, what,
Right.
like, what are we supposed to do? Then they like, jump the median and hit us. So, so that does make everything a little easier. And so we're, trying to sort all that out. The unfortunate thing is with the market that we're in right now, the car is totaled for a few different reasons. It really wasn't, the damage didn't look too terrible. I mean, in the area it was pretty rough, but as far as the car in general, it's not like it flipped or anything,
Right.
And so, from a structural standpoint, they said they would have to like replace the back, basically third of the frame just to get the alignment back. Cause all like that door, the back, on the driver's side, that back door wouldn't close. Like it was just stuck open. So that whole frame was off.
Right.
And then they said from a cost perspective as well, like how expensive everything is right now. It's just, it would be tough to kind of get that done. So we are waiting on the final payout of the, for the damages to the car and the replacement of the car. And then we'll be looking for a new car. But it's kind of like, it's exciting getting a new car, but at the same time, we really like the old one. It was a nice Toyota RAV4. And so we'll probably, I think my wife and I were talking, we'll probably just go get another RAV4.
Yeah.
So we really like that car. And that's like, that was the car that we were hoping to be like, that's going to be the family car. That's going to be, we'll, be using for years and years, and then we'll just run it until it dies. So it was very, it's kind of sad to see that it went out in someone else's fault, hitting us. Like there's nothing we could have done, with that, but hopefully we can get something else, new, a little bit newer. So, but yeah, that's the thing I have to deal with. And it's definitely not a great time to need a car. And and I kind of need two. So my wife and I, before all this happened, we were thinking about getting a second car. We had some needs coming up where it's like, yeah, it'd just be easier just to have two. So now we're looking at the same thing of like, well, we got to find a replacement for the first one plus a second car. So anyway, did I leave anything out that I mentioned to you, Cody, or do you have any questions on that whole thing? I think I explained it, but
I think you explained it all.
It's just been a headache. Oh.
Yeah. What was the reason for like, you said it's because of the market that they considered the car totaled?
Well, I was just saying that did play a factor. Like,
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So like they basically said it was, totaled from first structurally. So like it just would have been, they would have had to do a lot of work just to get the structure back to it because it just hit and kind of hit right at the frame. So, and then they said, just based off like, I don't know what percentage they use, but like the cost of repairs versus the price of the car. So that car, I don't know it. I don't want to know how much. I don't know exactly how much it's worth right now, but basically they were saying it was going to be over 10,000 in repairs, which the car's not worth much more than that. It's worth a little bit more than that, but if you're talking about half or, 2/3 of the car's value, it's kind of gets tough to justify making all those repairs. And then your car is going to be a salvage, So if anybody's got any advice out there, if you're like, hey, actually you could do this, that'd be great. But I think right now what we're looking at is it's easier for us rather than having to wait on repairs. Cause since it's our only car, it's easier for us right now just to kind of wipe our hands and say, okay, just give us a check and then we'll go out and buy something, buy another one. So that's where we're kind of at right now. We're just waiting, which, man, I don't know about, like, I work in kind of an insurance industry, but I don't like insurance. Like just dealing with insurance people, it's so stressful. Like we've been waiting for a long time trying to get this info, like just trying to get, somebody to get back to us on an estimate for what the car's worth and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of been dragged out. And so trying to deal with that, has not been fun at all. Man. So, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are okay. I mean,
thank you. Yeah, we're definitely too. And I know a few other people that like have gotten in accidents in the past like 2 months. Like I had one of my uncles, actually one of our uncles, got in an accident in January, and then I just had a cousin get in an accident yesterday, actually.
Man.
So I mean, I don't know what's going on, but a lot of people I know just seem to be getting in accidents lately. And like some of them, it's not their fault. Like it's just someone else ran into them. So
yeah, there's a lot of traffic in areas like hotspots like what we're in. Cause I mean, you're in Phoenix, I'm north of Atlanta, and those populations are just growing. And I can tell, like when I try to go to church, I'm about 30 minutes away, 25 minutes usually, but then it turns into about 45, 50 minutes right at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And it's always a wreck, always something. And it's crazy. I mean, I'm glad like the future is bright for cars as far as the technology. It seems like people that are driving newer cars are able to get into accidents that they're walking away from, and you would be like, how on earth did that happen? I mean, you're seeing like vehicles just crumbling like tinfoil, and you're like, this is insane, and then they walk away fine. Yeah, it's just because of the technology. I mean, the braking systems, the detection systems. I mean, Teslas drive themselves now. Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean like you multiply the amount of people in an area in a population. It's just, and then you add, like in your case, one stupid person, and then wrong place, wrong time. It's just a perfect storm, I guess. So yeah, man, I hate that. It's the worst time to be looking for a car.
I know. Yeah, I want to talk about cars too, but one quick note that like I just thought of is like, from this experience, definitely the things that stand out is like auto insurance. I know it's a pain, and like I never really liked paying a ton for it, but man, if you got good coverage, it makes things so much easier when this kind of stuff happens. Because like the other person that hit us has basically like minimum coverage on a lot of stuff. So let's say something really went wrong with my wife or I, it might be tough to get that covered, but we have enough underinsured or uninsured motorist coverage so that if something ever did happen like that, we know we could get taken care of. But man, it can be scary. Like, I know it's so that's easy. That's something that could be easy to go cheap on. But man, sometimes it's worth it just to have, not, anything too crazy, but just good coverage, make sure you've got that in place. And then one thing, as I've talked to people, I've asked a few different people that have been in accidents, they also recommend just legal help, just dealing with the insurance company and making sure, you get taken care of. I've heard pretty good things about, just see what legal help you can get just to have somebody on your side. That way you don't have to deal with it. Even if you're not suing somebody, just having that relationship with the other person's insurance does, it should make it go a lot smoother and make sure you get what you need, both for the damage to your vehicle and then for, any health issues that you have. So yeah, at least those were takeaways that I thought of just now of that both those things have seemed to help a lot of people, in the past, and have definitely been kind of lifesavers now, but yeah, definitely not a great time to need a car. And it's always the flip side of valuation though, of we should get a good valuation though on our car because used car prices are so high. So that'll be nice. But then we got to turn around and buy one and it's going to be up by just that, that much. But one thing I found interesting. So we've been looking at, as I mentioned, kind of two cars. So one would be a replacement for the RAV. And then another one we've just been calling our second car. And it's basically something, I've been, thinking about getting, and just something that's, a good Corolla or Camry or a Accord or Civic or something like that, and an older model, something you can pick up relatively cheap that's got, 100,000, 150,000 miles on it already. And that it's pretty cheap, but then you could just drive it for forever. You can just keep that thing running. So we've been kind of looking at both those categories. And one thing that's interesting is one, I think everybody knows this, but used car prices are just crazy right now. Things are worth, 30-40% more than what they were a few years ago. So just with, the shortage of new cars plus inflation, it's kind of this bad mix, of those two things. But one thing that, I found interesting, and I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Cody, but I noticed that the amount the price was raised for the more inexpensive car was actually more than the replacement for our first car. So let's maybe say with a more expensive car, maybe you noticed, okay, maybe it's $1,000 or $2,000 more than it was, or what maybe Kelley Blue Book is saying it's valued as. But then even the cheaper car, it's oh, people are trying to ask $2,000, $2,500 more than Kelley Blue Book is even saying the car's worth, So it's almost that's harder to get. Does that make sense? Than even a good, medium kind of car. It's not brand new, but just a stable kind of car. It seems like it's even more difficult to get the super cheap cars right now.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And I really don't know what the reasoning for that is. In our business, in my industry of fencing, we need trucks. And we're a debt-free company, but I know I've heard of some companies that are just buying brand new Silverados just because they can't find those nice used ones that we like to use. And luckily we haven't had to buy one in forever because we've got plenty for the crews that we have. But if we were trying to expand, I really don't know what we would do because what you were saying, a truck that would cost only $6,000 to $8,000 is in the 14-15 range and even more than that.
Yeah.
And to a company's point of view, they're well, I could just be paying, $500 a month and then I've got something really nice. If I can't get a hold of anything else, then I might as well just go grab this truck. And I really don't know. I can't really explain it. other than like just the base models, base things that you typically see on the road are just going up in price. And so your specialty stuff, they don't seem to be adjusting as much. And I guess it's probably just demand. I think there's a demand for reliability and a demand for tried and true. And so that might be why. But I'm not quite sure myself. But I'm seeing it just about every day.
Yeah. So it just seems crazy. Like those cars that, were like 5 or 6. Yeah, definitely going for like 8 or 10 now. Which is really crazy. So it's definitely a difficult time we're trying to navigate with my wife and I. Like, I wish it was one of those things that we'd say like, oh, it's expensive, wait, but it's like, you need a car when you need a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for one of those things, like, just to say, we'll wait till the market dies down. It's like, I would love to, but I need to get to work, so my wife needs to get to work. So, those two things, it's like, it just makes it tough just to say like, oh, wait till it dies down. So I'd say if you can, and you think the car prices are going to eventually settle down a little bit, maybe wait on it if you can. I mean, if you think it's going to keep going up, then, might as well snag something. But, right now it's just difficult to find anything. And I think something in that mid range between, like 15, 20,000, or I think probably even 25,000, I found is just not marked up as much as that stuff that's in the, maybe like 7 to 14 or something like that range, where it's like you're paying a few $1,000s more than most valuations are going to put on that car. Even like I was looking at one that like the car is worth 5,000, around there. And they're asking like 7,700 or something like that, and it's just, it's crazy. It's hard to find anything, and it's, super old, and, it's just hard to find, something good right now. So anyway, that's the fun headache, that we find ourselves in. But yeah, crashes are no fun, man. It's like, and it's really frustrating too, cause it's like, it's so quick of like how your life can change. And like the past few weeks have just all been about this. Like our life has completely changed because of this one moment where someone else was impaired and lost control of their car, or just, wasn't even looking at where they were going.
Right.
And immediately, like, it's been, almost a month now. This has been my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, that's the crazy thing. So I'll plug again, Cody and I say it, but emergency funds are great, because we really didn't have to worry about money right away. We knew we could cover things if we needed to, if we were needed to pay out of pocket for stuff so we could get reimbursed later by insurance, if they wouldn't cover it right away, we could kind of make things, work, for a little bit. So that definitely did help out, where the money wasn't as much of a first, worry. It was more just, as long as my wife and I were okay, then we could figure everything else out,
Right.
So, yeah.
Did it affect like work any? Like, were you still able to continue work as normal, or?
So my wife was able to continue work as normal. I have kind of like, I've had to work a little bit of odd hours, because it's like my work's pretty flexible. So like, let's say if I have to do a few things for like looking for a car or something in the afternoon, maybe I take a few hours. I can make that up throughout. Like, I can either start work earlier or maybe come back and work a little bit in the evening. But there were a few days where I had to take some time. And so, it definitely has affected my work schedule a little bit. And it was another thing I forgot is like, that was right during our close. So when I'm like the busiest, it was that next week after the accident. So it was just all those things of like, dealing with that. And then I had to work like, some of that next weekend, just getting stuff done to make sure it was ready for month end. So, it's just one of those things of, man, life is difficult right now, but we're getting through. And so, just trying to one day at a time, like, what's the next thing we need to figure out, and then work on that and then get it done. Man,
so that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if thank you. I don't know if I've asked, have you ever been in an accident or anything like that?
Yeah. Not anything where a vehicle was totaled.
Okay.
But well, I might take that back. I've had a like tiny fender benders. I've had 2 of those. But there was one time when a guy pulled out in front of me, and I did hit him in the back, and so it was definitely his fault. And it was like a little Mazda Miata, and I had a Crown Vic, and I'm only going about 20 miles an hour, but it broke my headlight. But it completely put a massive dent in the back of that Miata.
The durability of both those cars are very different.
Yeah.
Between those two.
The guy that gets out of the car, he just gets out, looks at his car, looks at me and goes, "Dang it, Crown Vics." and
That's amazing.
So I don't know if his might have been totaled. I don't know. 'Cause it wasn't a very expensive car, so it probably was totaled.
That's the tough thing too. Like you get a scratch on a cheap car, they might total it.
I hit him hard enough to hurt, to jar him and to put that big dent, but I broke my headlight.
Crown Vic,
no airbags, and insurance gave me $800. There was a little chip on the bumper, or above the bumper where where the hood is.
Yeah,
in between the hood and the bumper. They're like, "You're gonna have to paint this." He's like, "You're gonna have to paint this whole thing." I'm like, "Oh, really?" Because yeah, you're gonna need about $800 to do that. I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I just pocketed that.
Yeah, I mean, you got it, man.
That piece of junk car. So
yeah, you're like, I don't know if I want to go through all that for fixing that. So yeah, I know. I think it was your mom's been in a few like rough ones, right? Yeah. So man, those are scary. So yeah, as long as everybody's okay, it's like, all right, we can figure out a car stuff, but health stuff, man, it's scary.
Yeah. When it comes to car stuff, just when you make the car choice, know everything about it, know its crash rating, know, nothing is perfect, and there's always a fluke, but crash ratings are something to really consider, and all the vehicles that I've tried to buy has been something that was a decent crash rating, right? Because my mom has been in a wreck, pretty massive one. She's fine, of course, but I think she broke her foot and some other things. And that the van that she drove, it wasn't that great of a crash rating. And just last year, my uncle on my dad's side, he was hit head on in a Tacoma, which is a truck, and he passed away right then and there. And so and it was a Jeep versus Tacoma, and the Jeep hit him, and the guy walked away in the Jeep completely fine. It looked trashed, but the Tacoma, it looked really bad, but it was just odd how like one would hit the other one head on, and this one survived and this one didn't. And so, but then I looked up crash ratings on that specific Tacoma. It wasn't good.
Gotcha.
They said that I watched the dummy videos of how it's running into something, and it completely imploded. So definitely look into that.
Sure.
Don't just buy a car just because it's cheap. Don't just buy a car because I mean, when you put your hands on the wheel, you're putting your life in your own hands and other people's in your hands. And there's a lot to just having a reliable car, and then having a car that is going to protect you guys. And then to your point about insurance, that is huge.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for you, I would have like 25,000 covered, like the bare minimum Georgia allows. And I remember I was talking to you, we were going over like this is way before Will and Cody, but just before, we were just talking about some stuff. And I'm like, I've got like, I pay like this a month. And you're like, that's kind of cheap. And it was like, well, what's your coverage? And I'm like, it's like 25 and then like 50 bodily or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to pump. Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump
those are rookie numbers. Exactly. Those are rookie numbers, man.
And so I'm in the 500,000 to 300,000 range, and we pay for it. But now seeing that what's happened to everybody around us, seeing what's happened to you guys, my uncle, my mom in the past, and then hearing about the other person didn't have much insurance. I mean, you could get sued for that. You could be like, it's a whole, and then you got to pay for, lawyers if it's, was their fault. you know, if there's like vehicular manslaughter involved, things like that, it's insane. And so having that kind of coverage, like that, it's a peace of mind. And so I have you to thank for that.
You're welcome.
That we pay out the butt, man. But man, if something happens, we got 500 grand ready to go. And then uninsured, I think the uninsured's like 300 something. So it's whatever the max.
It covers you. Do. Yeah, it covers you. You know, because it's also like, I wish it was one of those things of like, well, I'm a good driver, so, you know, I don't need to worry about it. But man, it's really anything could happen. So yeah, I am, even though I don't love paying, you know, a lot, and I don't think you should overpay for car insurance if you don't need to, but man, sometimes you get the value there, you know, you get what you put into it. And sometimes it's many times over the value you could get out if something went wrong. You know, you've got it there, you know, ready for it. But yeah, it's been kind of a fun, no, not fun. Why did I say that? It's been an adventure. I should say that. It's been a learning experience, not fun, but I have learned a lot.
Sarcastic fun.
Yeah, I have learned a lot over the past few months. And so, yeah, it was one of my coworkers said this, and it just like encapsulated it so well. Of like, they said they were in an accident and they were like, oh man, I need to call an adult. And it's like, oh wait, I am an adult. Shoot, like, I have to figure this out, you know? And that's exactly what I thought. It was like, once it happened, I was like, okay, let's get this figured out. And then it's like, oh man, I got to call an adult. It's like, oh no, I am an adult. I got to figure this out on my own. So luckily I have a lot of people I can call and just say like, hey, I don't know what this means. What should I do? And so I've slowly kind of figured stuff out from that. So, I mean, I don't wish the experience on anyone. Cause it's, you know, it's rough. And I will say too, like, you know, just like fear of driving after and like stress and anxiety is real, because, you know, like if you make a wrong turn or, you know, if you like cut someone off and they hit you, it's like, okay, I know not to do that next time. Right. You're like, okay, let me be careful not to speed, or, you know, make sure I'm, you know, not taking turns too quick. But when you're sitting at a red light and somebody hits you, it's like, you know, you're just worried at all times. You know what I mean? Like that stress of like, who is going to hit me out of nowhere? You know, it's just like, it's taken a little bit to get past that. So that's another thing of like trying to deal with that, you know, throughout this whole thing. But yeah, that it makes it really difficult. So, but we're, you know, my wife and I are getting through. So we're definitely fortunate. I will say we are, you know, it has been stressful, but we'll take it. We'll take it over anything worse. So, so we try not to complain or anything about it, because we realize it could have been a lot worse. Like, you know, if that person, you know, when I looked at the car, they were pretty much coming right at me, and then they kind of swerved a little bit and hit the back of our car. So, you know, you think about what happens if they just T-bone us, you know, like come straight at us. It's definitely a different situation. So definitely fortunate, you know, for that. But this has pretty much taken over our lives for the past month. So,
man, well, we look forward to watching your car buying experience.
Thank you. I will keep everyone updated on that. So right now we're looking at just a replacement for our RAV. So we're looking at hopefully buying that soon, and I'll let everyone know once we get that done, like how it went, and maybe if there's any experiences from that, you know, from going through that as well, from buying it. And what I would kind of recommend at that. So we're figuring that out now. So, awesome. But yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to cover. I didn't know if you had anything else. The last thing I would say is that, don't drink and drive or get impaired and drive, whatever they were on.
Yeah.
And also we were kind of joking just cause like it's 8:00 on a Sunday. Like, one, do you not have work the next day? And two, it's 8:00. Like, normally you hear about stuff like people being, you know, impaired at like midnight 1. It's like, man, you're at 8:00. You're already driving out. Like, anyway, that's one thing we kind of joked that it was sense. Like, it's, you know, it's usually like, okay, don't drive after, you know, midnight on New Year's or something, because you never know who's going to be out there. But like 8:00 on a random Sunday driving home, like it, you know, it's like, why is that person already like? They must be going through a lot if they're already impaired by 8:00. So that's kind of one joke that my wife and I
happy hour
made.
Doesn't that end at like 4?
Yeah, I don't know,
So,
man.
like,
But like,
so-
it's not. It's usually on a weekday
and
though.
then-
Like,
right.
how are
So
you
it's
doing on
like
a Sunday?
10, like maybe 10 o'clock. I could understand that 12 o'clock
Yeah.
or even like during happy hour, but at 8 o'clock, like that's like, I don't know. It's just like, you just had dinner. Like,
It's the most random thing. Yeah, that
Yeah.
it's at that time. So man, it's weird. But yeah, that was the joke my wife and I made. That's like, how did we run into the impaired driver at 8 o'clock on a Sunday? You know, like it's not Friday night, it's not Saturday night, you know, late. It's, you know, some random Sunday. So anyway, but yeah, don't be impaired and drive, please.
yeah, don't do that.
So yeah, it's scary.
Well, we appreciate you guys listening. Not our traditional podcast, but very informative, and we hope to kind of see this experience. I'm experiencing this with you guys because William's been going through this, and so I was just given kind of that update. I got a little bit before we recorded the last time, but now I've got more of a full picture of what's going on. So we'll be watching you. How does the quote go? We will be watching you with great interest. Crap. What is that?
Watching your
quote?
progress with great interest or something like that. Your development. What's that from?
Shoot, that's from Star Wars. It's
Is
episode
it?
1. Yeah, because
Oh yeah, we watch your
Anakin.
development with great interest. Man, we loop
Yeah.
back to Star Wars. Well
Always.
done. What a
Always.
segment, like our segue right back into it.
Always.
Yeah, it's something like we'll be watching your development with great interest or something like that.
I'm gonna have to look that up afterwards.
Yes, but
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'll keep you guys updated with what happens. But
Awesome.
hopefully stuff gets resolved soon.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping
Yeah.
for.
All right, guys. Well, if you got any questions, you know the website. You know what to do. We've said it every episode. So, but we are gonna head out, and we will see you guys next time.
See you guys.